Hi guys, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Nuggets News. In tonight's video, I want to cover the biggest headwind I see for Bitcoin, Ethereum, and crypto in general over the next 12 to 24 months because I don't think enough people are talking about this. I always want to try and keep you guys one step ahead of the big trends on the channel, so let's keep this conversation going in the comments below because obviously there's plenty of obstacles that crypto needs to overcome, but this is one that I don't think has been talked about enough, and that's implementing privacy into the big coins. Now, most people aren't aware that Bitcoin's been talking about implementing privacy for a number of years. If you've used those block explorers, we can see transactions on the Bitcoin and Ethereum network, who's sending who to what amount, how much they've got stored in their address, and all that sort of thing. So they're not really private, they're pseudonymous, I guess, is what people refer to them as. So here's a few of the technologies that make transactions more private, and I'm not going to dive into the tech. I might cover that in more detail in a future video, but the Lightning Network's the first one. If this becomes really decentralized and easy for everyone to run a Lightning node, then we can start to send transactions peer-to-peer without that going to the main Bitcoin blockchain and the miners processing those blocks. The next one here is MAS, so Merkleized Abstract Syntax Trees. This has got to do with hashing data into trees. So each of the raw data is no longer recognizable as it gets hashed itself into those long strings of letters and numbers that you've seen. The last one here, confidential transactions, just trying to hide the amount that's transacted in the addresses. Some others that have been talked about here more recently, Dandelions gained a bit of popularity. That's focusing on making the nodes more anonymous. The last one here, Numeraphides Trust Consensus Protocol. I hope I've pronounced that correctly, but that's more to do with creating human readable names and then obviously incorporating all the raw data itself and mixing that up. So you can send coins to Alex, for example, or Nuggets News, and you don't actually see the raw data that's underlying that. Another one that's been talked about more recently is Mimblewimble. So silly sounding name, but this is really trying to obscure all values and not be optional. So this would really make the entire network private. So this is working without written signatures that we see on coins like Monero, where you incorporating a number of signatures and you don't know who's actually signed that transaction. Or ZK Snarks is one that Ethereum's looking to implement, zero knowledge proof. So you prove to the other person that you know something without actually showing them what you know. I guess that's the easiest way to explain it. So this is the video Ethereum hard fork, what you need to know, that I did last year in September. Time flies. And the Ethereum hard fork, Metropolis, was being split up into two parts. So the first one was Byzantine and the second one was Constantinople. Now, ZK Snarks have been implemented, but what we're sort of finding is that they're very expensive. So think of the Ethereum World Computer, and it's expensive to use those computational resources. So you've got to pay gas, and private transactions are actually very expensive, and it's not realistic at the time being until the network scales or we find better solutions. So we don't actually have private transactions happening on the Ethereum mainnet at the moment. But there are projects trying to solve this. So I covered Enigma on the channel last year in their first iteration, Catalyst there, but they really are trying to create private smart contracts and applications there. And obviously Ethereum's got its Lightning Network, the Raiden network as well. So how does this all tie together with these large coins, Bitcoin and Ethereum making up the majority of the market cap of crypto? And we're talking about making ETFs, investment vehicles, and getting this technology mainstream, and governments are taking a very cautious approach, and that's without all this talk of countries making privacy coins illegal. So Japan's banned, a wake-up call to defend privacy coins, and they came out and regulators said, look, we don't really like privacy coins, we want you to take action. And sure enough, we saw CoinCheck announce that they're going to delist privacy coins, Monero, Zcash, and Dash, which is only optionally private as well. So this is a conversation that's going to continue to play out because we're seeing this with the smaller cap coins. South Korea also following up there, Corbit dropping some privacy coins. But a lot of people aren't aware, especially governments that Bitcoin might be private in 12, 24, 36 months. And what happens if we have an ETF and this does become more mainstream and people are using it and governments are sort of saying, oh, look, this is all right, it's all going well. And then we come out and say, well, look, we're going to make it private. And they go, hold on, that's not what we agreed to here. And Andreas spoke about this a little bit. Make sure you check this video out. Why he's against Bitcoin ETFs. And he sort of says, what if there is an ETF that has a lot of coins and it does become very popular, and then they have a lot of power to vote in these proposals, hard forks, soft forks? What if they don't want to implement privacy because of what the US government or the SEC are telling them, versus the world and the real users of Bitcoin that do want to do this? And it can create more hard forks and separations in the network, which we don't really want. We want to keep Bitcoin decentralized so that decisions can't be made by a few just because they own a lot of Bitcoin. Now, I don't see this as likely to happen. It's not around the corner. It probably is at least 12 to 24 months off. But I just want to get you guys thinking about this, because I definitely think that the authorities are not aware that Bitcoin and Ethereum really want to plan on becoming private. So if this is going to happen, you can see the headlines now. Imagine the FUD that, banks, governments, that they're going to put out about, the usual stuff, guys, drugs, terrorism, money laundering. You can see those headlines now. So be prepared for this. The battle's just getting started. We are going to have decentralized exchanges. I've spoken about these on the channel. So even if privacy coins are not available in your country, or governments say that they're illegal, once we have more and more of these decentralized exchanges that we've covered on the channel, and more that are always coming online, as long as you can buy your Bitcoin other coins, let's say Bitcoin's ruled out in a certain country, as long as you can buy any coin, you can transact it through decentralized exchanges or atomic swaps in the future. All this technology is going to be easier and easier to use. The apps are going to get friendlier. No matter what they do, you're going to be able to get your hands on the coins that you want. And this really is, guys, where the battle is going to happen in the future, I see, if Bitcoin and Ethereum become mainstream, get adopted, and then scare governments by becoming private. So I hope you've enjoyed that episode, guys. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you think that's the biggest headwind facing cryptocurrency in general, how do you think banks and governments and authorities are all going to react if Bitcoin says that, yeah, we're going to implement full privacy features? So I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please hit like, share these videos around, subscribe if you haven't already, and thanks for tuning in, guys. Cheers.